A common question is fitting the gun to your hand.
Very important.
How do you know if the gun does or doesn't fit, or how do you make your gun fit to your hand? Let's talk about some concepts first. If I hold the pistol, with my just holding the gun regularly, if it looks something like this, it's going to be a problem, because what I need is room for my support hand to fit on the gun. I think that's the easiest place to start. Do you agree?
Yes.
So when you grip the gun with your firing hand, there has to be spots for your support hand to come in contact with it. And if it doesn't, how do you make that happen, Kim? What do you say?
Most guns nowadays come with backstrap, or aftermarket usually offers different grip panels if you're using 1911s or Shadow 2s, things like that. So when I go customize the gun to my hands, when possible, first thing I think about is actually, like it shows you, the side panel, the room to fit my support hand. There has to be enough room to grab with both hands. Now, there's two choices for that. How to create more room if you're running out of room. Number one, get your gun wider front and back.
Okay.
In that case, most guns nowadays come up with a backstrap, so I am using a medium backstrap for a Glock. And when I was shooting PDP, I was running a large backstrap. So front and back, my hand now, firing hand, opens up, so there's more room for that. Another way to do it is some of the steel frame you might not be able to add front and back width. Now you can go side to side. Some of them offers palm swell. Personally, I don't like palm swell because it changes the contour. I like to have a flat surface. In the case, basically, grab a thicker side to side grip plates or grip panels.
I agree. A prime example, sorry in advance, but the thin grips that come on the Shadow 2 is a prime example of those are too thin for most people's hands. So you want to add or make the gun wider because, like what you said, it gives you more to hang on to if the gun's bigger around. I think that gun's the biggest offender. And like you said, about any gun is going to come with either interchangeable backstraps or removable grip panels. So you have some options to make the gun bigger around.
Yeah, just for a reference, like I said, I'm running medium backstrap on my Glock. My hand size, typically, I wear double X large grips. So if you are having big hands, I'm 6'4", so I'm tallest Korean over here.
Yes.
So if you have 2X large or maybe even extra large hands, you generally want to consider getting a full-size gun and also guns that come with a backstrap.
Yes, another option that you could do, like what I've done on these guns, is the silicone carbide treatment. So with doing this, you could tell right off the bat, all it does is just add, or you could use grip tape, the Talon grip tape works. It's just building up the whole diameter of the grip just a little bit to make the gun just a little bit bigger in diameter, which does give you more to hang on to also. Then something to add gripping surface is not a bad idea either. Like I said, the silicone carbide accomplishes that. Or if you do grip tape, that'll also give you the ability of added traction, because what we really want, kind of on a broad stroke, is when the gun recoils, everything recoils together, your hands and the gun. The wrong thing would be is while the gun's going off, the gun lifting, but my support hand staying in place, them not staying in contact. So adding something to grip for texture is going to help, or like what we were talking about, making the gun bigger around just so you have more to hang on to and your hands stay on the gun while it's firing.
Let's talk about the angle of the grip though.
Oh boy.
Of course, everybody has different hand size, finger length, and everything, and different flexibility. I don't have too much flexibility. So when I shoot a Glock without a backstrap cut out over here, if you look, medium backstrap, however, I cut out the bottom half. It makes the angle a little flatter, so I don't have to have the canted wrist forward position. If you're flexible and maybe different palm size as well, you might not have to cant your wrist as much. But for most people, I believe, shooting a factory Glock without a backstrap, you'll have some kind of problem eventually if you train hard, having tendonitis, things like that. So like I said, this backstrap cutout kind of thing helps to keep the gun more in a flat angle. That's something that you want to pay attention to. When you go to gun store, when you pick up a gun, you want to just natural wrist angle and grab the gun and point it out without canting it too much. And if your sight is perfectly aligned, that's probably the best one. And if you have to cant to align the sight a little bit, maybe fine. But if you are going really hard, wrist canting forward, I definitely don't recommend. That's not only gonna mess up with your tendonitis, it's also, there's a paperwork out there. If you kink your wrist a lot, you lose maximum grip strength.
Oh.
So that's another disbenefit over there.
Like we said, changing the backstrap, adding tape, silicone carbide, or if it's, depending if it was like just a competition or just a target gun, you could add more even JB Weld or something to build it up even thicker. This just has a thin layer of JB Weld added and then the carbide on top of it to make it stick. But if I wanted to increase it more or add, I'm not a palm swell guy either, but if you wanted more, something built up in a specific way, you could just build it up with epoxy or JB Weld to make the gun thicker on whatever. So it doesn't necessarily mean you need to buy a new gun. You can make whatever you have work. But the important part is that you have room for both of your hands on the gun and that you're able to get enough traction on it that when it recoils, it all recoils together.
And one thing I want to share is I put the grip and fitting to your hands as a higher priority than being able to reach your controls.
Oh,
Some
good point.
people complain about, hey, I cannot punch the mag release.
I can't hit the clip
button.
release, man.
Yes. I have to tilt my gun or tilt my hand around the gun to release the mag button. That's something you can overcome with practice. Most of my guns, generally I have big hand, but the thumb, not too long. Often, most of the guns I cannot push the button unless I'm tilting the gun around. I actually don't tilt the gun itself, I tilt the hand around the gun to be safer in the angle. So that is secondary. Of course, if I can push the button, it's ideal. However, if the grip is being sacrificed to make that button work without shifting it, I don't go there. Priority is in the shooting and the grip.
I'm so glad you brought up the trigger. I didn't even think about that. So when I pull the trigger, I like to be able to get to the first joint on my finger. And these Walther pistols, it works just perfect because when I just grip the pistol, my finger actually gets all the way in the trigger guard and I feel like I have really good contact on the trigger. So for instance, these Glock performance triggers, it's not me, it's you, but I find a tough time getting all the way in front of it. Even now, just touching the trigger, it feels like I have to really run my finger all the way forward to the front of the trigger guard before I start to pull down on the trigger. And with some triggers, I've had issues where I start pressing on the side of the trigger before I even got to the little tab you have to disconnect it. So anyway, something like this where the trigger's so far forward for my hands is just not my first choice because I feel like it takes an extra amount of work to make sure I get my finger over and in front of the trigger before I'd start to pull on it. So that's another consideration to do also.
Yes.
Hopefully you find a way to make what you have work for you. I don't think you need to sell what you have to go buy something different. Just a little bit of modifications and attention. You can make whatever you have work.